Good afternoon and a warm welcome to UBC Lunchtime News. It is the 26th day of March 2021. I'm Lauryn, Masika, Kazimoto here to read you today's bulletin. Now we start off with our first headlining story this afternoon. The late President of the United Republic of Tanzania, John Pombe Magufuli, is set to be buried today at his family cemetery in his home village, Chato, in Geita district. Now, at a requiem mass currently ongoing at Magufuli Stadium, thousands turned up to pay their last respects. The event, which started with a mass overseen by numerous religious leaders from all denominations, were in attendance.
Na siku zote katika hotuba zake tulikuwa na uwezo kuona maono yake na wapi anajaribu kuipeleka Tanzania. Mara ya mwisho tulipata bahati ya kukutana naye ilikuwa siku ya sheria tarehe 1 mwezi wa pili mwaka huu, na aliweza kutukumbusha mambo ambayo wengine tunasahau ni mchango gani ambao aliutoa kwa mahakama. Kwanza alitukumbusha kwamba mwaka 2016 kwa mara ya kwanza alisaini mkataba wa mkopo kutoka Benki ya Dunia wenye thamani ya dola za Marekani milioni 65 sawa na shilingi bilioni 135 kwa ajili ya program za maboresho ya mahakama tu. Kwa hiyo maboresho ambayo yanaendelea sasa.
Now the Vice President, His Excellency Edward Sekandi, has joined Tanzanians in mourning fallen President John Pombe Magufuli. Sekandi was this morning visiting the Tanzanian embassy to pay his respects and also sign in the condolence book. Speaking shortly after, Sekandi hailed Pombe Magufuli for his great endeavors in fostering development and unity amongst East African nations.
You are up, eh?
Kwa njia Kristo Bwana wetu.
East Africa, at which the late Mfugoli has been a leader. We have followed what he has done throughout, and we thank him and we thank God who brought him here until his death for great contribution he has made to East Africa in many, many things. So we are greatly missing him, but we hope he has gone to heaven, and while in heaven we never forget his countries of East Africa, and we would always pray for the development, proper development in East Africa. And we shall continue sending our prayers to him.
Now 749,811 candidates across the country are expected to write the 2020 Primary Living Examinations PLE, with candidates briefing starting today. Now in a joint press briefing by both UNEB and the Uganda Police, candidates who will initially write their papers next week on Tuesday the 30th and 31st of March 2021 have been urged to shun away from any form of examination malpractice, since it is punishable.
Primary Living Examination officially begins today with the briefing of candidates countrywide at the various examination centers. The actual writing of the examination will start on Tuesday, 30th, and end on 31st, Wednesday next week. Right now, field activities of training and posting of scouts, supervisors, and invigilators are ongoing throughout the country. The field conduct of the examination will be handled by a number of categories of personnel. We have 138 district monitors who are already in the field, who are training and posting scouts. We shall have 10,911 scouts who will be posted from districts across the country. We will have 9,862 supervisors and 30,027 invigilators. We'll also be deploying an unspecified number of security officers from the various security agencies who are already, some are already in the field, others will go to the field, who will be carrying out both overt and covert operations.
We know that the PLE is the most competitive area of examination, and for that matter, we are keenly monitoring all centers to counter all forms of malpractice. We have drawn manpower from 1,600 police stations, and these are monitoring and policing the conduct of examinations in 14,000 centers where we expect the examinations to take place.
Now, the COVID-19 pandemic has affected educational systems worldwide, leading to the near total closure of schools, universities and colleges. Most governments decided to temporarily close education institutions in an attempt to reduce the spread of COVID-19. And as of 12 January 2021, approximately 825 million learners were reported to have been affected due to school closures in response to the pandemic. Now, in our continued series on the havoc of COVID-19, our reporter Nasil Luwama looks at the COVID-19 plague from the horizon and its impact on Uganda's education system.
School closures impact not only students, teachers and families, but it had far-reaching economic and societal consequences. School closures in response to the pandemic have shed light on various social and economic issues, including student debt, digital learning, food insecurity and homeless, as well as access to childcare, healthcare, housing, internet and disability services. The impact was most severe for disadvantaged children and their families, causing interrupted learning, compromised nutrition, childcare problems, and consequent economic cost to families who couldn't work. In response to school closures, UNESCO recommended the use of distance learning programs and open education applications and platforms that schools and teachers can use to reach learners remotely and limit the disruption of education. But what was the situation like on Uganda's education sector? In Uganda, over 15 million children were disrupted due to school closure on the 20th March 2020. It is now a year down the road, and the education sector is still partially closed.
There has been a problem with dropout of schools as we opened. Dropout of school for some of the children. Some children have not returned. There are even those who have become pregnant and have not managed to come back.
Nutrition plays a critical role in cognitive development and academic performance for children. Many schools closed. Nutrition was compromised for children in schools where food was provided. Without them going to school, many children became susceptible to environmental risk factors that in one way or the other stunted their development.
Some have simply dropped out of school. They are no longer interested in what is supposed to be done at school.
Men have taken us to be sexual objects, whereby they don't see us going to school. They see us seated, get some nice snacks, so that they get us and they use us. We end up getting pregnant.
Poet Young of St. Junior School in Soroti City narrates the experience of the lockdown while out of the class.
Cover other things they can be able to do. So definitely we are going to have a situation whereby people are going to find life elsewhere better than being in class, and the money is not able to come. So eventually with the time, it means schools like private schools have to recruit afresh and begin to resource those people afresh and train them.
As a school administrator, Etiang found it hard to continue facilitating teaching staff of the school, which finally affected the human resource of the institution.
Things we did, one of them was we had to deal with the size, bring the number of teachers as per what you expect. When the P7 class came, we had to pick the number of teachers which we needed. Then we had also to discuss payment afresh. So we had to redo contracts such that we could be able to pay according to what income has come.
The impact of COVID-19 was much felt by the private schools, both proprietors and teachers. Some schools used to rent infrastructures as operational grounds, and by keeping pupils at home, left them with no source of income to pay rent fees, hence many collapse indefinitely.
Schools which have been having loans, they had to reschedule the loans. It is a big problem that they had to pay, and then the interests have gone high. So running a school with only just staggered classes, like one class, is one of the most difficult things. You almost want to give up.
After 7 months of the total lockdown of the education sector, government, with the guidance of the Ministry of Health, opened schools for candidates and finalists in the institutions of higher learning. Some schools again found it hard to run with the limited students to sustain the operations.
We have not been able to actually pay the salaries of these teachers. Parents don't have the money. So we are just there sympathizing with them. Actually, we are kind of fulfilling the ministry's command of opening schools.
Government, through the Ministry of Education, introduced different interventions to make the education sector stand the test of the pandemic. Among these were distribution of reading materials to learners, conducting distance teaching through media outlets.
We have been training some teachers in as far as implementation of the SOPs. And of course, the government has also provided some money in the implementation of the SOPs for government-aided schools.
They have been able to distribute some books to schools. I have received a call that mine has received books P5 and P6.
The Parliament of Uganda also approved 20 billion shillings as a stimulus package to the private schools to recover from the shock of the pandemic. However, the question is whether the 20 billion shillings reached the targeted audience.
The teachers are so scattered. Even when they were given the 20 billion by His Excellency the President, up to now this money has not gone to them because they don't have a given structure.
To have the teaching profession secured detriments of COVID-19, the Ministry of Education plans to come up with a contract work scheme in the recruitment process for the teachers in the private schools. The project seeks to provide job security to the teachers in private sector to enjoy almost equal privileges like those in public schools.
This contract should have a particular region, a particular period. And this particular period should be either 1 year, 2 years, depending on your term and service. Now, that's number one. Number two, we want to encourage all the private teachers to register with the NSSF. They have the saving culture, National Social Security Fund, so it acts as a guarantor. Because these teachers, one, they are going to retire, and when they retire, they are going to suffer.
Some of them are working without contracts. Others are not being paid, others are paid different salaries. You find some who are paid very little money, others never paid at all, others not paid on time. All these are challenges we also see. But the problem is, where there is no minimum wage, it becomes very difficult.
The ministry is also encouraging practitioners in the sector to think of having side income generating activities and adopt better saving culture.
First of all, you must have earning some money, then you learn how to save it, then after saving, then you should learn how to invest it. Then after investing, then now you develop. Now that is the 4 areas which are very important.
Despite the government's encouragement to adopt e-learning, the resource disparities between rural and urban areas are exacerbated by the pandemic, as rural areas are less likely to have access to the technology needed to successfully implement distance learning.
People are illiterate about technology. A case in point, people have not had computer lessons. They have not been trained to do computer work. So it becomes hard for you to handle the technology advancements when you have not had those computer skills.
Maybe internet is not everywhere, so that has also not been easy. And do all our teachers know how to implement e-learning? So those are so many questions. But
the educationists say the academic calendar is likely to suffer more staggerings, at least for a period of 3 years, before the situation gets back to normal.
And in principle, we agreed as a ministry, we are not going for dead year. So we had to adjust and make sure that we manage the calendar so that we don't lose that year. And what we did, we said, okay, like we did with the candidates, they are completing soon the exams, and the year will go up to July.
Abdul Nasir Lobwama, UBC.
UBC Lunchtime News takes a short break, but we return with more stories.
The day the world stopped was the day we found where to go. From now on, we are not going to leave anything on our plates, because we've learned to savor the moments that were always there, and they never tasted this good.
Kwatesimu omulundi ogusookedde ddala wano mu Uganda osobola okusesa ku kibanja mpola ne weefulira smartphone mbagiriwo. Weefulira essimu ogisasulire ku kibanja mpola buli lunaku, buli wiiki oba buli mwezi okumala ebbanga lya mwaka mulamba. Okumanya oba osaanidde okuweebwa omukisa guno nyiga *284*4 olwaleero. Kuno nno ofuneko ne MBs 5 biramba ez'obuwa. Airtel, the smartphone network.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
That's their way of stopping HIV. What about you?
Welcome back from that break, and we're glad that you're still watching UBC as we continue to inspire Uganda. Now moving on into some business news, Uganda Wildlife Conservation and Education Center Entebbe says there is more need to create chimpanzee sanctuaries following increased rescue whilst limited accommodation both at Ngamba Island and the zoo itself. Now according to the Executive Director James Musinguzi, the facility has 22, Ngamba has over 50 chimpanzees, yet all the two facilities have limited capacity.
Chimps are many and they have a lot of challenges. So it's good that we replicate what maybe Ngamba is doing elsewhere in this country, so that when chimps come here, we can leave some few. We spend a lot of money on these chimps here.
We feel that we who are in the country today, we must be able to innovate and sustain the resources that we have. And that's why we called you, and we are listing your support to support us in these programs, so that we can also be able to reduce on the chimpanzees that are going to Ngamba Island, but in the long run, work hard to create another chimpanzee sanctuary where we can be able to take these chimpanzees, because as we talk right now, at the Uganda Wildlife Education Center here in Entebbe, we have 22 chimpanzees. We have hit the carrying capacity of the chimpanzees here, the area here. At Ngamba Island, we have hit 50 chimpanzees, and that has already hit the carrying capacity. Now, this implies that if more chimpanzees are rescued as a result of human-wildlife conflict, we have nowhere to take them. So we must work hard to be able to work on the supply side, where the chimpanzees are coming from, to make sure we reduce on the amount of number of chimpanzees that are coming from there to here.
3 suspects who are alleged to have killed 6 lions in the stretch of Queen Elizabeth National Park in Kanungu district have been arraigned before the utility court at Buganda Road to answer 3 charges, and later will be sentenced to Luzira prison if proven guilty beyond reasonable doubt. The charges include unlawful killing of wild species, unlawful entry into wildlife protected areas, and being in unlawful possession of wildlife pieces of 3 lions, which involved 15 legs, jerrycan containing suspected animal fats, and all were exhibited. Other recovered exhibits included a tin of suspected poison and spears. The suspects before the utility court at Buganda Road include 48-year-old Vincent Tumuhire, a peasant of Tukundani village, Robert Ariho, a 40-year-old male peasant of Kazinga Lower village, David Mirango, a 68-year-old male traditional healer of Tukundani village. The dead lions and 9 other wild birds that died after eating the poisonous carcass were forensically examined by the veterinary experts from Uganda Wildlife Authority. This is part of the other evidences to ascertain that the suspects used poison to kill the wild species. And now into our international news. Over 8 years after taking control of Afgoye town from Al-Shabaab, the African Union mission in Somalia, AMISOM, on Wednesday handed over control of Afgoye military base to the Somali National Army. The handover is in line with the Somali Transition Plan, which is a comprehensive guide developed by the federal government of Somalia and its partners to the transfer of security responsibilities from AMISOM to Somalia's National Security Forces. Uganda's Battle Group 30, commanded by Jimmy Nabiyu Musoke, vacated the FBO in Afgoye during a ceremony presided over by the AMISOM Deputy Force Commander in charge of operations and plans, Major General William Katsai Shume. Major General Shume officially handed over the FOB to the governor of the Lower Shabelle region, Abdul Kadir Mohammed Nur Sidi.
Transitional plan and other strategic documents which envision the handover of priority locations as the initial stages towards a gradual handover of security responsibilities to Somali security forces. So today we are gathered here to hand over Afgoye base. Subsequently, handover of other bases in the sector will follow as stipulated in the agreed reconfiguration plan.
And into our sports news this afternoon, Uganda's start at the Spa Challenge Tri-Nations Netball Tournament in South Africa has been blighted by a loss that the team's coach Rashid Mubiru blames on poor officiating. Uganda lost 49-33 against the hosts in a game the She Cranes started brightly but lost momentum in the second half. Team captain Stella is optimistic this 5-team tournament, to be played on a triple round-robin basis, is a good stop for the team. The tournament proper has 5 teams, including South Africa's under-21, a select president's team, and Namibia's Desert Jewels that the She Cranes face later on today at Cape Town International Convention Center.
We had injury from the goal shooter. He was hit by the eyes. Then wing attacker also got injured on the knee. So they disorganized our game totally. Yeah, we don't know if it was intentional or because if I didn't see any warning in the game. I didn't see any question. Somebody comes and do such thing. According to the rules, you have either a question or warn. Yeah, something has to happen. Such infringement.
It was quite a challenge. It was quite a challenge. First quarter, it was a really good game. We were affected due to injuries in the court, whereby we had to change in, we had to bring in more strategy. That's why it affected us as She Cranes. I hope next game it won't happen again. Yeah, it has affected me, but I have nothing to do. It's coach's work to add in more effort, but due to the game, it was really challenging. Anyway, hard luck. Next time better.
Okay, as a coach, you have to plan game strategies. Like today, we got injuries, so we could catch up slowly, but it was not our day. But next time we shall plan before the next match comes. We have to think beyond.
All right, that's all we had for you this lovely afternoon. Thank you so much for your company. I'm Lauryn, Masika, Kazimoto. We take you back to our partners, TBC, for the official send-off of fallen President John Pombe Magufuli at the Magufuli Stadium. Have a lovely afternoon.